Okay. And it's a topic that you like. This.
Welcome to another edition of Dead Air Live. Tonight we have a special guest, Prasan Tekrar, and you are going to be speaking about your book, God Equals MC Squared.
Yes, Jojo. Thank you for having me on the show, and of course, thanks to all the folks behind the scene, Ricardo, Charlie, Miguel, and again, of course, you for hosting the show. So thank you so much.
Well, I was asked to host the show, and I have to tell you the reason why I'm here is because the title, God Equals MC Squared. Now, I want you to take us on a journey, because one doesn't just come up with a title like this. You've had some profound experiences in your life, probably as a child, right?
Something that happened, I mean, just the whole idea of the book itself, and it actually did come from the title. The title is what kind of brought it all about. But something happened about, I've been in the US 23 years, so it was before 20, so about 1990 or so, let's say, around that time. So I was about 15.
25 years
ago.
About
25 years ago at this point, yeah.
Ago.
So, I was going through a rough time, you can call it the identity crisis or whatever it might be, and there was other things going on. I was depressed, severely depressed, and I didn't know what to do. So I believed in and I prayed to this saint who was born in the western part of India, the state of Gujarat, the province of Gujarat, and the saint named Saint Jalaram. And he dedicated his life to feeding the hungry. That's what he did. He fed people with whatever money he had, or whatever he could do. So I had always believed in this saint, and I would often pray to him for different things and ask for his divine intervention and his help. So at this point, I'd been doing that for a while, but nothing was happening. So I ran away from home. Yes. And I went to the birthplace of Saint Jalaram, which was about 200, 300 miles from where I lived. And I went on a hunger strike against Saint Jalaram. Jalaram, who fed people. That was his life's mission. And I kind of went on a hunger strike against him, if you will, which is kind of almost going on a hunger strike against God, right? So I was in his birthplace, little city, not even city, it's a village called Veerpur. And I stayed at a motel room one night, and obviously, as you know, I'm not eating or drinking, so because the point is that I'm gonna leave this physical realm if my problems are not solved by Saint Jalaram. So I am there, and I stayed there at a motel room one night, but then I realized that I only had enough money for that one night. If I stayed longer, I wouldn't have enough money to get back, provided, all of this was gonna work out and I was gonna be fine, and divine intervention and everything would happen and everything would be all well. So I didn't have enough money, so I'm sleeping on a bench in the bus station.
And you're 15 years old,
Yes.
and your parents are probably freaking out.
Absolutely worried, sick.
Where are you? Did you call them? It's not like we carry cell phones.
No, there were no cell phones at that time, at least not in India, at that point. But even if I did, the whole point of running away from home was for them to not know where I was,
Okay.
I left a note. There was this building attendant that we had, this elevator attendant. So I gave him a note and I said, deliver this in about an hour. So when I left, and I would be already on the way to the bus station to take my bus to the birthplace of Saint Jalaram. So, so the whole point, I didn't want them to know where I was and what would happen to me or what I was trying to do, because they would come and grab me and sit me down and say, don't you think about it at all.
I am dying to hear the other end of the story, but you have all the time in the world, but I'm sure they killed you when you went back home.
Yes, no, actually they were totally understanding, and they knew that they were just happy that I was back.
They were happy
alive
to see you.
and well, and well, I hadn't eaten in 3 days. They
wanted to feed you.
They wanted to feed me, and it like not a morsel would go down because your throat is so dry.
I
didn't even drink water at all. So 3 days. 3 days.
Okay, so let's get back to the story. So
yeah, so I'm staying. I slept on a bench in the bus station there the second night. And it was kind of cold. I had a backpack. I'm sticking my arms into the backpack and trying to stay warm and all that. And then the night went by, and then next day I go into the temple. There's Saint Jalaram's temple there, so that's
Right.
where I would go and stay all day and chant his name all
Right,
day using
right.
one of the rosaries that I carried with me. So the third night, I go back there to my bed, which is the bench at the station, and I'm at this point it's 3 days that I've eaten or drank anything. I'm tired. I'm mentally, emotionally drained and dejected because nothing has happened. I've been here 3 days. Saint Jalaram is not hearing my prayers or doesn't even know that I'm here. In my mind, I'm thinking all these things.
Right.
So I'm sad and I'm crying, and I fell asleep somehow in between all of that, and must have been 3 o'clock in the morning or so. I don't even know exactly, but somebody taps me on my shoulder and wakes me up, and I'm kind of groggy, obviously, and it's a bus driver because the state transportation buses, they have a brown uniform. It's almost like the UPS guys, right? And obviously, you see the person, you're like, that's a bus driver. He didn't introduce himself as such, but I knew that's who he was. And he said, "What are you doing here at this time of the night or this time of the morning, if you will? You don't belong here. There are no buses coming in and out, so it's not like you're waiting for a bus or whatnot." And I'm like, before I could say anything, he knew. He's like, "You have run away from home, haven't you?" And I was kind of nodded. I'm like, "Yeah." And then he asked me where I was from, and I mentioned the name of the city, which is Ahmedabad, which is not where I was from, because I didn't want him to know where I was from so he could contact my parents and all of that. Again, kind of defeating the whole purpose of me running away.
You were a little rascal.
Yeah, I was. I felt very guilty about lying to him. But I was like, I didn't want to keep lying to him. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, "You know what? Whatever it is, you go home. Your parents must be absolutely worried sick about you. So you need to go home, and whatever is bothering you, whatever is ailing you, whatever your problem is, it'll be taken care of once you get back home." So I'm like, you know what? This is the second time that I didn't want to lie, but I was like, you're right. I'm gonna do that.
Right.
Tomorrow I'm gonna leave.
Right.
And then he was gone. And obviously I had no intention of leaving Veerpur alive unless my problems were resolved. But at least I didn't want to keep telling him all these stories so I felt guilty and I wanted him to be gone, and he was. So then I didn't go back to sleep. So, slowly the sun was rising, and then I started seeing people coming into the bus station, buses rolling in and out. But at that time there was nobody when the gentleman, the bus driver, woke me up. So I go to the temple for a few hours, and then I inquire about the bus. Like before that, I'm actually at the temple, and then suddenly I get this feeling that everything is gonna be all right. Somehow I get that hope, and I think a lot of it had to do with what the bus driver told me. And I somehow felt that I think my prayers were answered. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go home.
Do you think the bus driver was kind of like, sometimes God speaks to us through other people and...
Well, let me tell you this. A very good question. And that is the whole kind of, I feel that is
The gist?
the event, right, that kind of made me think about everything in life. And so I decided, after I left the temple, I went to the bus station, got my ticket to my city, and it was going to make a couple of stops, and I had to have another connecting buses and whatnot. But so long story short, I'm hanging out at the bus station waiting for my bus, and then I just thought about it, and I said, hey, let me see if that bus driver is around so I can thank him and let him know that his words is what is the reason why I'm going back home. And I inquire about him at the ticket window, and I explain what happened. It was this time. He's like, there is no such person. And he was like an older gentleman, and I'm like, he's like, I probably know everybody that comes through here. He's like, there's no such person as a bus driver that would ever. So I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I knew you were gonna say that.
And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't have any proof or evidence, but I don't know who that was. I don't know if that was Saint Jalaram. I don't know if that was just a human being, so to speak, just like us, or if that was God. I don't know who. But it was a miracle for me that I needed to get back to my life and to go back home. And that absolutely was a pivotal moment in my life, because until that time I was ready to end my life. And now I was ready to live it. And in fact, on that bus ride back home is when I decided that I wanted to come to the States. Now, this was something that was in front of me before that, because paperwork was in order and everything, but I wasn't ready to come to the States. But that ride back, I'm contemplating while I'm sitting in the bus, and I said, I think I need to restart my life, to hit that reset button of my life. And I feel that that moment and that event had a lot to do with me not only being alive, but being here and having been here 23 years. So that was definitely a pivotal moment. And then, believe it or not, few years went by where I didn't even think much about that or about ideas of spirituality or anything like that, other than, of course, my faith was deepened significantly to the point where I absolutely believed that maybe that was Saint Jalaram who came to me. But about a few years ago, let's say about 2006, I was exposed to teachings of Dr. Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you've heard of him, and I'm sure
I
viewers
listen to
might
him
have.
all the time.
Exactly. And
He's fantastic.
He's absolutely amazing.
Hay House.
Hay House.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely. Dr.
Yeah.
Wayne Dyer, Hay House, Louise Hay, who
Yeah,
created
of course.
the publishing company, and then Dr. Wayne Dyer, I think, was one of the first ones to be
Have
published.
they asked you to speak with them yet? Do you notice I said yet?
Yet. Not yet, but I think
They
that is
will.
gonna. Thank you. I
They will,
appreciate
yes,
that.
indeed.
I mean, that would definitely be a dream come true to be
And-
published through Hay House.
And I will say this, that you will be a speaker on Hay House.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that faith, and that gives me faith. And I've always kind of had that vision of myself doing that.
It's already happening.
It's already a reality, yes.
We have made it a reality right here, right now.
Thank you.
And I want to go back to your story, and I want to tell you that you were given a gift that night, and there are many dimensions beyond what we see here on the physical plane. Most people cannot see these dimensions because they're too preoccupied with their life, and we'll call them different vibrations or a different hierarchy.
Very well said.
That just like here on Earth, we have policemen, we have the president, everyone has a job, and it's the same way in the inner worlds.
Yes.
And you were at a really low point. You were experiencing the dark night of soul.
Exactly. Again, I get goosebumps
You
because
were-
that's what I've
and-
kind of thought about and said that was my
Yes.
dark night of the soul.
You were experiencing the dark night of soul, and for you, that was a gift. And you're very wise that you recognized the miracle. That's the ultimate gift, because people are given gifts and miracles all the time.
Right.
They just fail to see the miracles.
Right.
But you were very aware.
Well, thank you. And,
And-
it
and
didn't
s-
come to me easily, but yes.
Well,
the
you
awareness.
took an extreme approach, and I'm sure your parents were thrilled when they saw you because they love you.
Of course.
They
And-
love you.
And now that I'm a parent, and I actually, believe it or not, that whole episode that I just mentioned to you is a chapter in my book that I actually wasn't even going to put it in the book. And I was like, I don't know, that's a lot of private stuff, a lot of personal information. I'm just bearing my soul. I'm telling people what happened and what I was going through and what I did. And then I decided that, okay, maybe I'll put it in the book. It's germane, but maybe near the end. And then somebody I know and trust convinced me that I should put it in the book right up front, because I think this is them telling me that,
Right.
that this is going to be so powerful that, I think you should put it right up front and let people know that this is what happened. And I took their advice and I did that. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying that when they read that chapter, it was very powerful for them. And I was glad that I did that and I put that in the book.
And I'm
so.
glad that you share that, because that sets up the next question. God equals MC squared. So explain that, because
Sure.
what a great title.
Thank you so much. And you actually already kind of hit up on that in a way, because I'll kind of set it up by saying that you mentioned it. You said there are different levels in not only physical, there are different vibrations in the physical level, but then there are spiritual levels that have different vibrations. And that's where I believe, saints and angels and those kinds of people, if you want to call them, exist. And we we can access that. Maybe I access that night. But so everything has a vibration.
Right.
And that's what you were talking about.
Or energy.
And exactly.
And energy, absolutely.
Exactly. So everything has a vibration, and ultimately everything is energy, so it's vibrating at a particular frequency. So I, as I was mentioning to you, that Dr. Wayne Dyer's material was important to me, and that was life-changing. And then about a year after, I came across The Secret, the law of attraction,
right, the law of
which
attraction,
talks about that, and
course.
it made it very popular,
Right.
and I think it's great. There was a teacher in The Secret called James Arthur Ray, and he mentions it in The Secret. He asks, if you asked a quantum physicist, a scientist, what creates the universe, he or she would say energy. Cannot be created or destroyed, always was and always will be.
Correct.
Only it's moving into form, through form, and out of form.
Right.
So that's a physicist, a scientist saying the answer to what might have
Right.
created the
Sure,
universe.
sure.
If you ask a theologian what created the universe,
Okay,
they
yeah.
would say God.
Right.
Always was and always will be, never
and
cannot be created
and always
or
remain
destroyed.
the same.
Goes through
Right,
form.
right.
So the
Yeah.
answer is the same.
Correct.
And that, I thought that was so profound, and that made me think about it. And Einstein's equation, which is probably the most famous equation on the planet, E equals mc squared, talks about the relationship of energy, which is the E on the left side of the equation,
Right.
to mass times the speed of light squared. Now, we don't need to go into all the details of that, but the point is, on one side of that equation is E, which is energy.
Right.
Of everything in the universe is equal to all the mass of things in the universe times the speed of light squared, which is a number we cannot even start to imagine. It's such a
Right,
huge number
right,
that,
right.
it's just unimaginable. So that led me to think that if E is what physicists are saying, meaning energy, and a theologian would say God, so why not replace the E in the equation with God? Say God equals mc squared.
Right.
And I put a question mark at the end, because I'm not necessarily saying that, but I am posing a question, and I want people to start thinking about the concept of God, and not from a religious perspective, and to really see what science is saying about the existence of God, about the existence of spiritual realms, and the fact that everything is energy. And if everything is energy, then we can kind of not in a negative way, but manipulate our vibrations so that they can be higher and we can live a better life. We can basically come to a point of living the life of our dreams, which is what the motto of my
Well,
book is.
what I see what's going on with you, and this is a good thing, is that because you've had this experience and you've taken religion out of it, because religion, it gets crazy. People kill over religion, which I don't understand. I don't understand that at all, because it's insane.
It is absolutely insane.
It doesn't make sense. They're supposed to say, well, God is this, God is that.
My God is better than your God,
But
and so on
God,
and so
there's only
forth.
one God, there's many roads. It doesn't matter what road you take, they all lead to the same place. However, God is good. God wants us to respect each other, to love each other. You had a miracle in your life, and you're taking this miracle and you're doing something profoundly good with it.
At least I'm trying to.
You're doing something good. So for that, you should be given a gold star.
Thank you.
That is great. And that's what people should do. They should do the best that they can. And you talk about, I love these topics, dreams, spirituality, science,
Yes.
and it's beautiful. And you're not taking anything negative into it. You're just saying, you can achieve your dreams. You can have everything that you want, but you got to put it into the right context. So I want you to talk about your book, because you give people possibilities that they can achieve whatever they want.
I absolutely try to do that, and I understand.
And I want you to take us on a journey through that, because
Sure.
you have a lot to say. So just take it away.
Sure, thank you. Yes, you kind of hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what I'm trying to do, is to let people know that it is possible for them to change their lives for the better, to have what they want. It's not necessarily a materialistic viewpoint.
Right.
You can have material things that you want, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. But ultimately, if you think about why do we want that big house, this beautiful car, you know?
It's okay to have nice things.
Right, but
We're
why do we
supposed-
want them?
We're supposed to have nice things. Why?
How does
Bec-
that make you feel to have those
Well, it
nice
makes
things?
us feel good, but when we feel good, it's okay to feel good. There's one thing feeling there's one thing feeling good and comfortable, and there's another thing being all full of yourself, being vain and all this. We're not
Right.
talking
And
about that.
no, it's
we're,
not
we're,
about-
We're
yeah.
talking about finding a balance.
Yes, it's not about conceit. It's not about bragging. It's not about being
Right.
better than the Joneses or whatnot. It's about being the best you can.
Right.
And like you said, feeling good. But feeling good, if you think about it, there's actually no word such as God. It was good. That's what initially the name was. And they
Right.
removed the O and made it God. So God and good are synonymous, and that's one of the things that Dr. Wayne Dyer takes. But I'll ask you something. Do you know the meaning of the word goodbye?
Godspeed.
Well, very good. But
Oh
what
my
does
God.
Godspeed mean?
That God travels with you wherever you go.
Okay.
Am I doing okay?
You're doing well. You're
Sounds
doing well.
like-
You are on the path. You're actually on the path. You are almost moving at that same speed.
Okay.
So Godspeed is what it means is may God speed you. In other words, may God accelerate your progress. So when somebody says Godspeed, and generally people who are going up to space and they say
Right.
Godspead, and that used to be said a lot before. Nowadays they don't say that.
Oh,
But
I love
bye,
that.
we all say bye. Probably everybody on the planet probably says bye, regardless of what their native language is, generally speaking. Not always, but in India we said bye when we left each other's company. I didn't know what that meant for most of my life. I found that out in probably about 8-9 years ago, 10 years ago,
Right.
or maybe even before that. The meaning of goodbye is actually, it's a phrase, good be with ye, Old English, meaning may the good be with you, which also means may God be with you.
Good be with ye.
B-Y-E, and that got shortened to goodbye, and then that's further contracted to just bye. So we say bye to people all the time. We have no idea what we are saying, but what we are saying is
Right.
may God be with you. And even atheists say bye, and they don't even know what it means. So why would atheists wouldn't believe in God, but they say
Ooh, that-
goodbye.
Yeah,
And-
what are they going to do?
Yeah,
what are they
so
going
what
to
are
say
they gonna
when
do
they-
with that now,
Yeah, what are you-
right?
right.
Isn't it?
I
And-
want to. That's good. That's another whole show.
Yeah, well, actually, chapter 1 in my book
Yeah.
is entitled Goodbye. It's a one-word chapter.
Beautiful.
And somebody said, what an insane guy. Why is he starting his book with goodbye? Okay, goodbye. I'm not going to read this anymore. Thank you. All right. No, but so that's the thing. So feeling good is feeling God. And it's all about that. So having
and-
material things or anything else,
Right.
all you're looking to do is feel good, to be happy,
Right.
to be blissfully happy.
So what is God to you?
I think God is an energy, if you will, that exists in everything. In you, in me, in this chair, in stars, these lights, cameras, everything in the universe is God.
Right.
So I think that's, for me, it was a tough thing for me to wrap my head around. Because before that, I prayed to this being as God. And yes, there was the saint, and he is a bona fide saint, and he appears to people and helps people. So there is this energy that is intelligent. So what I would say is it's supreme conscious energy that is conscious, it's aware, but ultimately it's one thing, which is love. That's what it is. And that's why again, I'm not putting religion into it, but that's why all religions talk about love. And unfortunately, as you were mentioning, it's insane. Those ISIS people chopping people's heads off or burning them alive.
They're a
I
little-
mean, there is
they're
a disconnect.
confused.
They're heavily confused, and there are things people say. I don't know about heaven and hell, but I know one thing that I've read a lot about, done a lot of research on near-death experiences.
Oh, yes.
Not people who came close to dying, but people who died. Physically, they were dead. They were declared dead, pronounced dead. Heart wasn't beating, they weren't breathing, brain activity was zero. I mean, just because the heart stopped doesn't mean a person dies right away. So just because the heart stops doesn't mean they're dead. But ultimately pronounced dead. They were dead. And they were brought back to life. Or they came back to life spontaneously, minutes later, hours later, and in rare cases, days later. And one of the things that they mention is a life review. I'm sure you might have heard the phrase, and I've heard it on television and movies, my life flashed before my eyes.
Of course.
Right. This actually happens after you pass away. Your body, your spirit leaves the body, and you actually get a panoramic view of your life. It's like a movie screen that's playing in your mind's eye,
They even
if you
use
will.
videos in heaven.
Right.
This
they
is
do,
great.
isn't
Oh
it?
my God.
They're up there technologically speaking.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're
They're not
way
behind
ahead
the
of us.
times. Heavens, they
Everything's
know
probably in 8K up there or whatever.
Exactly. Super high definition. You
Yeah.
can't match that high
Right,
definition.
right.
So people have said, these folks who have come back have said that they saw their whole life, or they experienced their whole life, significant moments of their lives.
Right,
And
right.
they also experienced how other people felt because of them.
Right.
So whatever, let's say you said a kind word to a stranger, and that stranger remembered, or a bus driver said something to a kid, 15-year-old kid, and that, what I felt, or what that person felt when you said that kind word, you are going to feel that as if it's
right.
being said to you.
Right.
So when you do something negative to somebody, guess what? You're going to feel that too. So
Right.
that's why it's not a matter of religion. It's not about a matter of heaven and hell.
Right.
But do you want to experience hurting somebody physically, mentally,
So
emotionally?
basically what you're saying is whatever we put out comes back.
Absolutely,
In
like
this
a boomerang.
lifetime or the next lifetime goes back and forth. So make sure whatever you put out, make it count.
Right.
Make it good.
Exactly.
Because if you do, it's going to come
back to you.
Yeah, that's
and that
good.
rhymes. You're
Yeah.
such a poet.
And I don't know it.
Well, now you do. But so exactly, you said it well, and that's, like I said, it comes back like a boomerang. What goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. The law of karma, right? I mean that.
But karma can be both good and bad.
Right.
But most people think of karma as something bad.
No, karma
but-
is, the word karma actually just means action.
Oh, I see.
That's a Sanskrit word, which is an ancient Indian language, right? So karma, karma is what you're doing, but then there is phal. Phal, which is directly translated as fruit. So there is karma, the action, and then there is the fruit of the action,
Right,
which is
right.
what you get back.
Oh, right,
But
of
people
course.
people say that karma and what you get back is all karma, and that has been in the vernacular, and that's okay because that's the understanding. As long as
Sure.
people understand what
Sure.
they are saying. So you're right that that's karma. So and good
Right.
and bad. So there's good and bad actions.
Right.
So absolutely.
I want to just tell everyone, we'll bring this up at the end of the show. You
Sure.
have a website called All Your Wishes Fulfilled, and we're here with Prasan Tekrar.
Yes.
Tekrar. And I'd like you to put, if you can, his website, if you can, up on the screen, if you have it, All Your Wishes Fulfilled. You have been the #1 author on Amazon,
Yes.
and you are self-published.
Yes.
And your book is really gaining a lot of, people are paying attention to what you're writing. And that's great, because what you're writing is touching the core of people. And you also have on your website, allyourwishesfulfilled.com. They can sign up, and you will, an e-zine, E-Z-I-N-E,
Correct.
a publication that you'll get in touch with them through email or however you
Right,
do it.
email. I send out a monthly edition of the e-zine. You can call it a newsletter, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It might be a little short little article that I might write, some topic that came to me, or something that I've already written about, but then I got some new insights, so I
Right.
might share that. Or,
Right.
it's going to be in this subject. It's going to be about the subject of spirituality and science, but ultimately it'll be a practical thing. It's not just something that I'm going to write about that people are not going to care about. It's something what I find is usable, something they can put into practice. And that's what I send out on a monthly basis. But initially, if our viewers were to go to the website, allyourwishesfulfilled.com, the initial email that I send out is this little guide that I have created, which is actually in a chapter in my book, but this is more of a shortened version of it. What I call it is the 9 steps, 9 simple steps
Well, tell us
to
about
creating the life of your dreams.
Well, I would like you to talk about that because a lot of people feel hopeless today.
yes,
They feel hopeless because they feel stuck. And I really think that that's a mindset, in that we are our own worst enemies.
you said it very well.
And we
Yes.
can snap as like a moonstruck. When Cher said to Nicolas Cage, she slapped him on the face and she said, "Snap out of it!" Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Basically,
mentioning
what
that.
you're doing is you're telling people to snap out of it. And I want to
I
know.
won't slap him though.
No, you don't. There's no
No,
slapping
okay.
involved. But
And I'm not Cher either,
Yeah,
so yeah,
but
it
I
wouldn't
want-
work for me.
But I want to know the 9 steps, how you could take somebody out of that funk, to bring them out of the funk and to elevate them so that they can achieve their dreams, that they can, that they know that there's things out there that they see the possibility. We can have whatever we want in this world.
Right.
My dad, when I was younger, I was sad for a short moment. And I said to my father, "This world is awful, Daddy." And he said to me, "Honey, if you want the beautiful things in life, you just reach out, you grab it, and it's yours." I said, "What?" "You just reach out, you grab it, and it's yours." And it's really that simple.
It is,
But I
yeah.
want you to tell us, because you're going to tell us your way of doing it in the book.
Yes.
God equals MC squared. We're here with Prasanth
Thakrar.
Thakrar. It's really
It's a
a
tongue
beautiful
twister.
name.
It's a tongue
Prasanth
twister.
Thakrar. Prasanth Thakrar.
Roll the R's
God
or
equals
whatever.
MC squared.
Well, so I'll mention a few steps and we'll kind of tease our viewers a little bit. I'm not going to mention them all so that they can go onto the website and get the free guide. It's free and you can unsubscribe to the email if you don't want to keep getting that. And it's only a monthly thing. I don't bombard people with stuff on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. I send out a monthly little note, that people might take 2, 3, 4 minutes to read and that's it. So not in any particular order, but I think you mentioned something which you're absolutely right about, which is people feel hopeless. So the opposite of that is, of course, hope. And you take hope to a greater level, it's faith. So it's the antidote to hopelessness is to have faith, to build faith, to develop faith if you don't have it. I mean, I'm not talking about religious faith, faith in God. I mean, that is one of them. That is one of the things that people can do and should do if they feel necessary, but it's not required. I'm talking about faith that if something is not visible to you yet, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So if you can't, like you mentioned that me being a Hay House speaker hasn't happened yet, but doesn't mean
it
it
will.
hasn't happened yet in this time, but
Be-
that doesn't mean it hasn't happened
But-
or it won't happen.
But I saw it. If
Right.
I see it, I have created it.
Exactly.
And I put good intention into it.
Right.
You see, you have to put the intent, this, that you have to put your energy into what you say.
Right.
If you put your energy into what you say, you create it.
Absolutely. So faith, it starts with faith. You have to believe without a doubt.
Right.
And even when we have faith, and again, it happens to me sometimes on a daily basis sometimes where I start losing faith and I say, oh, this is not going to happen. This is not going to work out the way I want. Or, all signs of things that are happening, everything that I can perceive with my physical senses right now is telling me the opposite of what I want to create and manifest. But you almost have to ignore that and say, I know, like I know it's going to happen. Or better yet, it's already happened.
That's correct.
It's already happened.
That's right.
So, and you have to believe it. And people may say, so you want me to lie to myself? Yes. If that's
Fake it
till
until
you
you
make
make it.
Yes.
Right.
And I'll look right in the camera and say, yes, I want you to lie to yourself in the beginning, because that's how it's gonna feel like,
Right.
that you are lying to yourself. That is the snapping out of it that is required.
Right.
And when you keep doing that, then you start believing it. And then when you keep believing it, it just becomes a solid thing that you can't see. You see the impossibility of it not working out. It is gonna work out. It's possible, it's already done. And when you reach that point, for creating anything you want, whether that's a dream job or a dream business, or to find the perfect partner in your life, or what about wealth and abundance, health and wellness, whatever it is. If you're not feeling well right now, and if somebody's dealing with a serious issue, I mean, that's a serious thing for them, and they're focused on it all day. Naturally, we all would be. But the fact that they keep thinking about it and they're in it and they're like, oh, woe is me. And again, I've done it. We all do it.
Yes,
but
that's
the worst thing we can do to ourselves.
The more we think about something and put our energy into it, whether good or bad, that's what comes to us.
Exactly.
Today I had a very unusual experience happen to me. There was a lot of humidity in the air, and my hair, well, it's really wild, it's frizzy. So I went to make a phone call, but the phone call that I made was supposed to be to my hairdresser, but I didn't call her. I called a man that I had been thinking about for the past 2 years, trying to get the courage to call him on the phone.
And you called him accidentally.
Called him accidentally. And it was really bizarre because I said, who is this? Because he has the same last name as the other person.
Right,
so that's how it ended up. The same first name. And I'm not going to say who the man is. Because the world knows who this man is. Everybody knows this man. Okay?
Okay.
And it was a fluke. And he recognized my voice. And so I said, I have this person on the phone. I have to ask him what I have to ask him.
Right.
Because
this is the universe telling you that you need
this is the opportunity.
Right.
And when I asked him, he said, absolutely yes. And I went, are you kidding me?
That is so amazing. That is.
But
I'm not surprised.
No, but here's the good thing. You can ask a person for a favor, but the universe also tells you, in order to take, you have to give. You have to keep the scales balanced. And I had something that I could offer this person, that he wanted to just meet me tonight. And I said, I can't, I'm doing a show.
Well, thank you. I feel guilty now.
No, I said, you're going to have to wait.
Right.
And I felt good saying that.
Right, because you waited a long time.
2 years.
Right.
2 years.
You can wait a few days.
No,
or at least a few hours,
went,
right?
This is like crazy good. And I knew I was meeting you tonight, and I was dying to tell you this.
Very, very, very good. I love that. I love that.
So I'm just saying.
Things like that happen in our lives.
So I'm just saying that things do manifest, and the universe gives us exactly what we need at exactly the right time. That bus driver that came up to you, call it an angel, call it a guide, call it a master, call it that someone that God put just to put on your path.
Right.
But I think there's no question it was divine intervention. And there are those beings that walk the planet.
I believe that.
And we all bump into them, but some people, they don't have the vision. Right. Oh, like someone gets into a car accident and they feel someone carrying them out of the those things.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do, yes. And people put that and they try to explain it away by saying, oh, that was coincidence, and there is no such thing as us being kind of, not having these type of beings looking out for us, guides, spiritual guides and such. And miracles are happening all around us. I think it was Einstein who I think he said this, that you can look at life one of two ways. One is that like nothing is a miracle, and the other is as if everything is a miracle.
Everything's a miracle. Okay, so getting back to your book. 9 steps.
Yes, so we talked about faith. I think it's important to start with faith, because otherwise nothing else can happen.
Right.
Because if you don't believe, and not just believe, but have that undying, unwavering faith.
So that's number one?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
Number two,
what I would say is to, then you start, you ask and you say what it is that you want. You clarify, you believe. Like for example, The Secret said, ask, believe, then receive. But what I say, believe first, have faith first, then you ask. And then there are other steps that you can take. For example, what I strongly believe, which a lot of these teachers out there haven't necessarily talked about, is repetition and discipline about these ideas. To believe is when you start first having faith. There'll be times when you won't have faith, and you'll be like, no, I'm just, like I said to the viewers, like, you're lying to yourself, and you'll stop doing it and keep doing it. It's a matter of repetition and discipline.
Right.
And again, discipline has a negative connotation sometimes, but keep reiterating this message that you create your life and by your thoughts and your feelings. And that is something you control. You have control over your thoughts. And what you think about a particular situation is going to change it, in the sense that you can say, I was in this accident, and how I think or feel about it is not going to change that. But it does. When you start saying that there is a miracle of some kind that is, I can't see it yet. I can't see it now. I can't even imagine how something good can come out of this particular car accident that I had. But just know that there is something that might be revealed to you months later or even years later, but you don't know that. That cause and effect has been altered just a little bit, or maybe significantly, for you to get what you want, maybe 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road from when you first thought, and now you dialed and you got the same last name as your hairdresser. It was all put into place, and maybe he was going to be ready at this time. That's why you haven't.
He needed needed to hear something, because he just found out something just this week, and he just couldn't believe. He said to me, I can't believe how your timing is so perfect. And I said, oh my God. It's like, I went crazy.
Right. So
I'm not crazy. I just went, this is unbelievable.
Excuse me.
And this was a miracle. This was a miracle for me today.
Right. And miracles like that happen all the time in all of our lives. And we, like you had mentioned before, that we are just not aware of them. And even if somebody brings our attention to them, we tend to explain it away as just random, meaningless coincidence.
It's not. And I think the beings that are, let's say, on the other side, they love when we recognize it, because they're jumping up and down saying, she's got it, she's got it, he's got it, he's got it, this is great. Because they're doing their job, because they want you to get it.
Exactly.
Because if they don't get it, then they hear from their higher up, hey, you're not doing a good job. I mean, you're not getting through to them. Try something else.
Right. And we also have to do our part. So they're there, and they're waiting to serve and help. Because that's their job, like you said. They're messengers, and you can consider angels. The word angel means messenger of God, and you can say that they're waiting in the wings for us to ask for the help. And
they are waiting.
Yeah, and
they're like saying, when are they going to call on me?
Right.
I'm just sitting here. I'm bored.
Right. And again, this is not a religious thing. I mean, you don't even have to believe in angels per se.
Right.
And you can just say, hey, I need some help. And ask for the specific guidance. And the specific angel who is assigned to that particular job, if you will figure it out that, okay, he or she is calling on me, and I need to do this.
And that's why your Saint
Jalaram.
Jalaram, I'm going to kill the name.
Nope.
Heard you.
Yes.
Sent the bus driver, just said, you know what, we got to do something for this kid, because he's going on a hunger strike.
Right, he's going to starve to death.
Yeah,
so.
He's at the end of his rope, and we got to do something, or else it's over. And if we fail, we get demoted.
Right, exactly.
We lose our wings.
Right. So a couple other steps that we can talk about briefly. Then asking for it.
Asking.
And really, that's part of faith, but repetition and discipline.
Oh, repetition.
And discipline about the idea, to think about it constantly and reinforce the idea, because that's part of it. That's how you really get this process to work better. One of them is visualization. So it is a tool that Olympic athletes and superstars in any field have used for for hundreds of years.
Give us an example.
For example, I was actually reading about it. There was some, I don't remember the name specifically, but I mean, for example, I know of one person who was influential for me was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought he was an idol, when I was growing up. And I'm a very skinny person, as you can see, or maybe not. But one of my goals growing up when I was around that age was to be a bodybuilder. And I actually started working out, and I even competed once. Didn't do well, but because I was supposed to be writing, but I didn't know that then. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. But he would always visualize himself winning Mr. Olympia or Mr. Universe. And he would imagine that he had already won. And he would think about, and he would like psych the people out, his competitors, like Lou Ferrigno was one of them, the Hulk.
The Hulk.
Yeah, so Lou Ferrigno.
I met him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, in California.
Yes,
Yeah.
so he's amazing. I think he passed away.
He's
I
not
think
as
so.
big as,
Right.
as you think.
No.
They cameras do wonderful magic.
Of course. But like he would psych people out because what he was putting into their minds is loss. And he was thinking about winning. So he was visualizing himself getting the title. And this is something he has done for years or decades.
Right.
Actually, I read about it when I was in India, that one of his goals, among which was, of course, Mr. Olympia, Mr. Universe, but also to be in the movie industry, to be a superstar, and to marry a Kennedy, and to ultimately become president of the US. This was his goal.
Wow.
From decades ago. He has done all of them except for become the U.S. president because he can't. Right.
Right, because he
even tried to have the law changed, and that met with severe opposition. Right.
Yeah.
So he has pretty much done everything he visualized and imagined he was going to do.
So a person does visualization. What do? Do they wake up in the morning? Don't they have to put the feeling into it when you visualize?
Absolutely. So when you're visualizing whatever goal you want, for example, if you want that beautiful house, you don't see a picture of the house by itself. You don't even see yourself in the house. You see through your eyes as if you're walking around in your house. And you're walking in the kitchen and you're going into your bedroom and you're feeling the feeling of being there. If you can, with all your senses, but at least visually. But like, I think they mentioned it in The Secret, which I really love. It's like, if you're opening up the door or the fridge door and you're going in and reaching for a cold bottle of water, feel that cold
Feel
bottle.
the sensation.
Right, feel the sensation. But again, that's just an example. So if you want to, I'll tell you one thing, which I started doing just recently, because one of the things I want to do now is get a motorcycle. So I've been visualizing riding a motorcycle.
You feel the wind in your ear? You have the GoPro on your helmet?
Exactly, and I'm feeling the throttle, and I'm feeling the engine rumbling underneath me, and I feel how fast I'm going. And within days of starting that, I already have ridden 2 bikes, 2 Harleys, which I've never ridden a Harley before.
Oh, those are
I had a
great.
Yamaha back in '96, a Yamaha Virago. I loved it, but the engine ended up dying on me, and it was a lemon.
It's not
and
a Harley.
No, and it's not a Harley. I mean, I have no problems with Yamaha.
An endorsement for Harley.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah, so I decided that I was going to go for a Harley, and as soon as I made that decision, I've had people tell me about it, and I'm asking random people. I'm like, do you know of anybody who's... And they're like, yeah, a friend of mine is... and they're right here, they live right in this town and close by, and I am going there. And believe it or not, on the way here, I had seen an ad yesterday. I texted that person that I would want to see it. It's nearby Roslindale.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay. The person texted me while I was driving to the studios, but I was driving earlier. I had left earlier, and Ricardo had mentioned, our producer, that try and get here way earlier than you may need to. You may want to beat the traffic, so on and so forth. So this gentleman texts me while I'm driving. I'm on I-93 in Boston. I'm sure we all know where, and around exit 13 right before that. And he texts me, so I'm like, all right, well, I can't be texting and driving. So I just called him, and I said, so what's the deal? He's like, I'm around if you want to come by. I'm like, oh, geez, I have to do this show. I'm like, there's enough time. And I was right before exit 13, and he said, what should I do? And he's like, I'm like, the next exit is exit 13. He's like, all right, take that. And like, I was like maybe 50 seconds away from it, less than a minute away from that exit. I mean, I would have to go in the opposite direction.
Are you going to get the bike?
I went to see it, and I rode it, And I wasn't too crazy about it. Sorry if you're watching. His name is Pat. But the point being that I was, I'm in that zone now, and I'm able to. Doesn't mean I have the bike yet. I don't, but I went to see it. So the process is unfolding.
The process is going, right.
Which leads me to another one of the points out of the 9 steps. And then we'll tease the viewers with the rest of it. We won't tell them. But taking action. Now, I put the visualization out there. I'm imagining myself riding a bike. I'm asking people, which is part of taking action.
Sure.
But then I do have to go to the place where the person has his bike for sale, or a dealership, or wherever. I have to physically go there.
You just can't be an air dreamer and say,
Right.
oh, I want this, I want
I
that.
can't just be lying on the couch and like, oh, Harley is going to show up in my
No.
driveway any moment now. No. Oh, not yet.
No.
Oh, let me check again. No, I'm going to have to go to the place, talk to the person, negotiate maybe, and or if I don't like it, then I say, let me think about it. Or, you know what, I'm
Sure.
not too crazy about it. I've seen another one. Maybe I'll go for that. Whatnot. But I do have to take that action.
Sure.
But what I want to really say is that a lot of people believe that action is the only thing necessary for success
No.
or for getting what you want. And what I would say, faith, believing in the fact that you're going to get what you want, and visualizing, and then of course taking action. And there's so many other things. Again, we'll leave the viewers to see if they want to sign up for my free e-zine and get more of that.
So tell us how they go about. We have a few minutes, not too many minutes, maybe a
Okay.
couple. Tell us what the viewers have to do. Go to your website.
Yes. What I would recommend that they do is go to allyourwishesfulfilled.com, which is my website. And there is a sign-up page to sign up for my e-zine. Again, it's a free monthly, if you want to call it newsletter. I don't like to use that phrase, but if you want to call it that, or a blog if you want. So I send that out on a monthly basis. But when you initially sign up for that, I'll send out a copy of those 9 steps. And it's in a condensed form. It's an excerpt from that chapter in my book. But you will get usable information. It's not like, oh, I'll get this and it's going to be useless. No, you can start applying those. You don't even have to get my book. And I'm not here talking and plugging the book. But if you want to get the book, it is on Amazon. And it's 99 cents on the ebook. But again, if you want to just get those 9 steps, start using them and see what happens in your life. Put it to a test. Experiment with it, and then see. That'll be that first part of the faith. As you start applying it and you start seeing results, your faith will start to build, and you'll say, this stuff works. Or if it doesn't, then you'll be like, hey, it's nothing. So that's what I would recommend, and then that'll bring them to God equals MC squared, which is the website dedicated to the book, so they can find out more about the book. On that site.
If you want to talk to your viewers, we have a few more minutes, and you want someone to buy your book, what would you tell them is the highlights? Why should someone buy God equals MC squared? I am looking forward to reading it. I'm so excited.
Right. What I would say is to anybody watching, or if you want to share this with anybody else as well, is if you feel that you are ready for a change in your life for the better, then I would recommend that you get the book. And don't just get it and let it sit there on your coffee table. Read it, of course. And I say it because I have hundreds of books that I still haven't read, that I've bought. Now, I'm going to get to them. That is what I love to do, and I want to read, and I do read a lot. So, but do read it and apply. Start applying the steps, because that's the practicality. That's when you'll start seeing results. Because intellectually, knowing every word that's in this book is going to be useless. Intellectually, just knowing it.
Right.
But when you start applying it is when you'll start to see the results you're looking for. So ultimately, if you want to make a positive change, if you really want to have your beliefs questioned, not questioned, but challenged is more like it, then this is something for you.
Okay, and so we're here tonight with Prasan Dekrar. And we have God equals MC squared. And we still have a few more minutes. So is there anything that we left out that you want to tell your viewers?
Sure. I would like to mention, going back to the title and the fact that we talked about, how we came up with the title and then everything is energy. So being energy, one of the chapters is about oneness, that we are all one. And actually, coincidentally, about 3 weeks ago, I was on a radio talk show called Awake to Oneness. It's actually one of my customers who bought my book years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago about. She reached out to me, and she's hosting a show now about science and spirituality, about the concept of oneness, and she invited me on the show. And that kind of reminds me that ultimately that's what it is about, that we are just energy fields operating in a greater energy field, and that we are all one. And I know it's a platitude, or if it's a cliche, people don't believe it, but again, going back to a lot of things we talked about already, which is that when you do something to another, you're really doing it to yourself. And I think if people just started to realize that that's exactly what it is, I think a lot of the problems that we see in our world nowadays would start to diminish and eventually go away.
So let's just be kind to ourselves.
Yes, by being kind to others.
Being kind to others and just love each other. So God equals MC squared is a must for everybody to read on the planet if you want to make a difference in your life, if you want to realize your dreams. You have to believe, you have to take action. What am I missing?
Have faith.
You have to have faith.
Yes.
And you have to take the steps that Prasan Dekrar. I'm sorry if I'm killing the name.
No problems at all.
But this is a worthwhile read for everybody. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Dead Air Live. Thank you.
Thank you, Jojo.
Terrific. So
Thank you
awesome.
So much.
So I just want to read the back cover. It says, "Are you ready to discover the new scientific evidence that proves that we can have all our wishes fulfilled, requests granted, or prayers answered, regardless of our spiritual or religious beliefs? Well, as long as we learn to wish, request, or pray the right way." Awesome. Check this out. Can you zoom in?